Hi everyone, here's an in-depth lap guide of Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in the Formula 3. If you're a Pro Mazda regular, you're probably used to me doing these, but here's one for the new car. My best lap was a 27.0. Which is probably not perfect as I'm still getting used to both the car and setting it up, but should be fairly competitive. This is in default morning. The weather is consistent, but due to the dynamic sky, it's impossible at the moment to lock it down to be completely the same weather. But it should be fairly representative. So coming into turn 1, I'm braking after the 2 marker and down 3 gears. Now we're on entry. The goal is to clip this with your front left wheel. You should have it up on that curb as that will open the line into turn 2. But you don't want to get it too much. If you get it over this bump here, it will bounce the car and possibly spin it. So you get the one, and you're wanting to really slow the momentum and hug a tight line through turn 2, and then gradually get on the power and push the car out. So when you get used to it, it should be a nice smooth motion. So you're braking, you're turning in, you're clipping the apex with the front left, back over to the turn 2 and holding the line. Nice and smooth, not out of control, not bashing the curbs and getting oversteer. So you're staying in 4th through here, and just before the 1 marker. Now there's a couple of ways to approach these turns, and as I find with Montreal in general, you're better off turning the car a little bit early, so braking a tiny bit early and actually getting the apex. If you go in bombing the braking zone, you sometimes can't bring it back, and you're either just missing the apex or taking the late apex, and that can actually cost you quite a bit of time. So I'm braking before the 1 marker, I'm down a gear, and I'm trying to get the car up on this inside curb. So, and then I'm hard on the throttle, and hard on the throttle again, and pushing it to the wall. So when I'm up on the curb, the car's actually on quite a lot of throttle, and it will feel like it's moving around under you, because it is, and you're hitting both apexes. But if you've got the downforce set right to a stable condition, you should be able to pretty much hold the throttle over them and it not bounce around too much. This car has a great chassis, so it's not a problem. Making sure you get both apexes and pushed out to the wall. Now just flap through here, hug the right line. Okay, so I'm braking after this white divider in the wall. Or did I brake just slightly before it? No, just broke very slight amount before it. Now, like that earlier apex, you really want to get the car up on the curb on the inside here. So you're braking, you make sure you're slowing, and you enter from wide. I tend to, in the braking zone, point the car sort of away from the apex towards the wall. I've noticed a lot of people don't do that. They tend to point it straight. I'm not sure if there's a real advantage in doing this, but I tend to just brake it sort of in a straight line heading here, then turn it back in. So you get the front left wheel up here, but again not too much because you don't want to unsettle it. Then you can fairly quickly get back to the throttle and drive it up over this curb and push it out. Now these are a very succinct line, so I'm not out braking myself, getting the car slowed and getting both apexes whilst modulating the throttle to hold it on line. You can push it out to the wall. And you're doing the same here. Now there's no real precise braking markers. You're braking a fair way after the 2. Kind of just braking under bridge, I guess, but I might be using the 2 as the braking point. You're braking a straight line, and again, you really got to get this apex. If you miss this apex and you have to get the car stopped, then turned back to the next left-hander, it will really compromise you through here. But also, if you hit this white curb and it bounces, it can push you offline or stop it turning or just unsettle it and spin it. So again, ultra precision, get the wheel right up on this red curb with the front right. There we go. Then back to the left. You can afford to clip the left-hand apex a little bit with the front wheel and it doesn't unsettle it too much. I tend to prefer not to, but it does sometimes happen. So like the previous couple of chicanes, the focus here is not on braking as absolutely late as you can, but on actually getting the apex. As braking late and slightly missing, it's going to compromise you a lot. Good drive off there. Now coming in here, you're braking after the 2 marker but before the 1 marker. And you're trying to brake the car in a straight line just to keep it steady. I just noticed then I wasn't using that much peak brake load, like I was only peaking at around 80%. I could maybe use a little bit more than that. Getting this car under the full-on braking stop zones is probably one area where I can improve a little bit, but braking here after the 2. Now I like to kind of shoot the car past the corner a little bit, then I can bring it back around into the late apex. And then just be gentle on the throttle as you don't want to spin the rear wheels out coming out of that corner. It's very easy to do. I've seen in the practice session a lot of people looping there and ending up backwards. Didn't get any real brake lock in there, so the car stays steady. I didn't quite get the apex as tidy as I'd want though. So I've gone past it a little bit. I didn't bring the car cleanly back into it. Ideally it would probably be wanting to run about half a metre closer to that line. That was something that started in the braking zone by not getting it stopped and rotated early enough, but it didn't cost me a huge amount, maybe a tenth or less. Just accelerating out. And here you're braking just slightly after the 2 marker. And like every corner here, the key is getting the apex. So just around the 2. Turn it in. You can't miss the apex here. You're going to bash over that and probably end up in the wall. So I'm turning it in shallow into the first apex, clipping it slightly, then clipping the second apex clean before pushing it out towards the wall of champions. That's the lap. It's a 1:27.0. And I'll show you in fast motion. Quite a complex track for them to start the season off in a new car, with a lot of importance on stability, particularly low speed, heavy braking and traction. All the areas that people will need to get used to this new package, but when Suzuka rolls around and we can put a bit more wing on the car, it should be quite a bit easier to handle there. Here's the lap in full speed.